I have this theory that Aries people struggle the most with emotional regulation. At the root of the issue is sensory integration. I believe because Aries is a masculine zodiac sign who is also the very first cardinal zodiac sign, they often do things without thinking. Not because there aren't smart people, but simply because their body moves faster than their mind. It's not unusual for an Aries person to react in anger to something that they're experiencing without actually feeling it. Capricorn will feel it for 20 years before they react to it. Aries will react to it before they feel it. As we go down the zodiac wheel, we get more mature with our skill set. The skills of Aries become more mature at Capricorn because Capricorn has finally learned that strategy is more important than the reaction. It's not so much, do I feel the feeling and what do I want to do about the feeling? It's more about, how do I get what I want based on what I know to be true? So Capricorn is slow. Capricorn is extremely slow. Even me making this video response to someone who asked me about meditation years ago at this juncture is an indication of that. I move slow. I have no interest in going fast. Yes, I am restless with wanting us to wake up and to learn more and to become more and to do more. And sometimes that rears its ugly head. But fundamentally, I like to move at a pace that is reasonable. And reasonable for me is often delayed. It's a delayed reaction. Capricorn is a master at delayed reactions. Aries, not so much. So one of the things I would recommend for Aries people, sensory integration is about bringing your emotions together in a way that is palatable so your brain can register it. That's the best way to describe it. I think it would be worthwhile for Aries people to be tested and assessed for sensory integration. I would like to see science actually use people's zodiac sign for theories and go through the process. We can always have a control group of people who are not selected by zodiac sign. I would like to see science get curious about how our mechanism is hardwired before we even get here. Because so much of our story originated prior to us getting here. And the lack of interest that we have in the past, in our history, in our DNA, is eventually going to cost us. Because how do we move forward if we're not learning the lessons of yesterday? Aries has no yesterday. Aries is the starter of everything. And Capricorn is all about yesterday. Balance is incorporating the new idea with the old. Balance is learning from the past and coming to a new conclusion to create something new. Balance is understanding who you come from and bringing that together with who you are and who you're trying to be. Without an understanding of who you were, how do you know that you're not simply returning back to the past? The past is important because it has lessons in it that teach us about mistakes we've already made that don't work for our future goals. And those who struggle to respect and understand the past are inadvertently going to be making the same mistakes they made yesterday, because there is no learning, there is no absorbing of new information. It's just going around in circles one day after the next. We die and we come back and we do it all over again. And this is why I really admire the Eastern faith, because it teaches you that time is an illusion. So this concept of karma means that whatever we do is what we did. Whether we did it 100 years ago, we did it today is what we did. It doesn't matter. And karma means that every action has an energy attached to it. And the energy that we invite to our lives is ours to keep, because God and the universe is so balanced that it would be unfair to give somebody else, an energy that I created. Balance requires self-awareness. Aries simply lacks in this department because their focus is on speed and execution and implementation and doing things. When Aries is at the 6th house, people become very focused on being active and, getting a lot of things done. These are people that will wake up on the 1st of the year and say, I'm going to set a goal to get healthy, get my life together. They're going to come up with a convoluted plan to get healthy. And by the time we get to March, their gym membership is no longer being used, because Aries doesn't have much follow through long term. They follow through on the impulse, they follow through on the energy of the moment, but they cannot and do not know how to stay the course over 100 years. Capricorn does. So what it's going to take this year is balance. It's emotional sensitivity. It's awareness of our limitations. It's being kind to ourselves and being gentle with ourselves and being willing to slow down. In fact, I would recommend that everybody schedules slowing down time in their calendar, because 2025 is going to be so chaotic that our inability to recognize how we're feeling, what we're feeling, and how it's affecting us is going to create emotional problems for us. Because when we continue to be emotionally triggered and we do nothing to protect ourselves against those triggers or to mitigate them or to increase the positive actions on the other end that may make us more emotionally resilient, then naturally we wither. Because the circle of life, to have something, you have to let go of something. Energy is constantly being transformed. This is why water signs are the best manifestors of the zodiac, because water molecules are always in motion and they are constantly doing different things when exposed to different elements. Have you ever thought about that? How water can go from room temperature to ice, into boiling, into evaporating into the air? Do you know how magically insane that is? That is the world we live in. It's full of magic. So Aries, have your vision for this year, write it down, come up with a plan on how you're going to make it happen, and execute. And please, if you take nothing else from this video, be intentional about your self-care. Be intentional about taking care of your health and your well-being. And I know it's boring, it's not fun, it's depressing, it's exhausting. I live with lupus. I know what comes with having a chronic illness that you're constantly managing. But there is beauty in that struggle. There's beauty in being intentional. There's beauty in checking in with yourself. So that's my advice for 2025 for the year of Aries. Emotional regulation, sensory integration, and prioritizing self-care. If you focus on these 3 things, you're going to have a wonderful year. We cannot fix the world, but you know what? We can fix ourselves, okay? And whatever we cannot control, we simply embrace, because that is life. Whatever we cannot control was meant to be. There is an element of life that is spiritual that we cannot deny. And I know science hasn't caught up to this side of the conversation, but that's where the truth of life really resides, is that there is so much that is outside of our control. And our lack of willingness to accept that is the source of our stress, our unhappiness, because we get fixated on controlling what we cannot control, as opposed to getting fixated on accepting what we cannot control and finding ways to manage ourselves within what we cannot control. That is the journey of Aries. Aries is naturally dominant. Aries is naturally bossy. Aries is naturally wanting to push their agenda forcefully onto the world. And that's not always possible. And that's what Capricorn knows. Capricorn knows that sometimes pushing your agenda requires being strategic. Strategy is going to take you much further than impulse. Strategy and a plan is going to take you much further than impulse and dramatic actions. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to catching up with you next week when I'll be talking about meditation. Somebody had asked me years ago how I got into meditation, and I never responded. So here I am in true Capricorn energy fashion. I'm circling back to that next week, and I'll also talk about how meditation has helped me, in addition to what science has shown us about meditation so far that is helpful for our overall well-being.
For more astrology content, you may follow all of our YouTube astrology channels. The first one being at Intuitive Healing for Astrology 101, at Styled Under Libra for Love, at Astrology Weekly for Horoscopes and Manifestation, and lastly at Styled Under Virgo for Medical Astrology. You may check out intuitivehealing.com for astrology readings as well as healing crystals, and make sure to check out a manifestation group on Patreon at patreon.com/intuitivehealing. Catch you soon on the next video.